In the argument for modernity in its egalitarianism, it is often argued that it is good, for it allows the individual to live at their own behest, and choose not to conform if so desired. Unlike in previous ages, where conformity was the norm, this is a poor reason on several grounds, among them that it relies on the liberal notion that the highest good there is individual pleasure. But that it relies on its own philosophy to be logical is not what I aim to discuss today. What I decide to speak about is that this idea of non-conformity is false. Truly, that which the modern world considers a right to individual difference is in actuality no more than a license to be selfish. That is what the true nature of modern individualism is, license in philosophy to justify being selfish. In historical societies, the reason conformity was the norm was not because of oppression, as most modernians believe. It was because of a sense of communal duty and general virtue that has been lost to modern man. Man for all of history understood the superiority of the group to himself, that he was only because of the group, and what he was only because of the collective and world around him. Through understanding this, the moral of conformity was realized. In wider society, recognizing the importance of great communal orientation, gained the distrust of deviance from conformity, seeing it for what it is, a symptom of higher self-importance, something born from a sense of the self being more important than the community. Am I saying all non-conformity is bad? No, not at all, not even close to it. What I'm saying is that high deviance from the norm is in most cases born from selfishness. This is what the so-called non-conformity of modernity truly is. It is man who puts himself over society, being welcome to do so, because everyone else has also been given the right to do so, and be as selfish as possible without consequences. The modern world is born from the rejection of virtue, and of believing the individual man to be over the collective, that the love that is community and collective is only but a means to an end. That society only exists so man can do what he wants to, instead of the right way. That society is so man can be how he is meant to be. That man can be an individual, part of a group, instead of an individual in a sea of individuals. The loneliness of modernity is because modernity has no true community. For those that exist are seen as less important and valuable than the self to the people in them. And all relationships exist only to benefit those in them. The sense of meaning and importance in community has been lost, because the ego has been placed above all else. This was what all societies for all time feared about non-conformity. They knew that deviating from the collective was the greatest sign that someone had more love for themselves than the group, that someone was selfish. They knew if they accepted non-conformity too much, it would lead to the total disintegration of community into a sea of the selfish who cohabitate. The sea we now call modernity. Humans are made for groups, for collective and conformity. Just look at the masses who have gained this so-called right to non-conformity. Do they use it to be unique and different? No, they're ultra-conformists. It is a right the funny word masses don't need. Only a tiny minority use it to be unique. Still with this right, the masses are conformist in their ways, for that is in great part how man is meant to be. The general populace only uses this right to live selfishly with themselves and their pleasure as the highest of highs. Non-conformity, as it is not a right for the Nietzschean Übermensch to exist, but one for the atomization and erosion of society, for the total destruction of societal cohesion in favor of the evil that is individualistic selfishness. It is more accurate to call the embracement of non-conformity the rejection of community. But what is meant to be then? A total destruction of individual into a hive-like perfect conformity? No, the individual's difference and the expression of the self are good things. These things must just be like all other things, on the middle path and in the right place. Not too much like in modernity, where selfishness and self-supremacy rules under the name of the right to non-conformity. Or too little like in a cult, where any sign of non-conformity is grounds for excommunication. The good path in between is one where the individual recognizes the superiority of the collective, and that he is lassitude, that he is only a part of something greater that he lives by, but where the individual has the freedom to something new, in beyond being another characterless copy. A world where man can bend himself within the confines of living tradition, where he doesn't tear all before him down to build something new, but where he uses it as his instruments to build further upon it. This is what most Modernians don't understand, and what is holding us back. Tradition is not a thing of the past. It is a living, changing thing. We must walk and build within a tradition, evolve it, instead of throwing it away for new opportunities, like modernity has done. True traditionalists are not the worshippers of the past. We are those that respect the collective in its customs, and build things within and upon them. We evolve on the grounds of collective tradition. We do not worship a static past. We are the only true collectivists. The Marxists and so on desire to dismantle the collective by creating a system that is a mix of modernity's sea of individuals, where every man is for himself, but one that also has a deep traditional communal duty. A deeply conflicted machination, where man is somehow meant to embrace his own desires and hate all above him, but where he still needs to find an instinct to think everyone should be equal to him. They want to go to the two most extreme points at once, hoping they somehow work together. They want to destroy the ethos and structure of the collective, removing its traditions, customs and ways of life, turning everyone into the same characterless man as the ruling liberalism wants. Only they also want man to be characterless in his status in society. Liberalism and communism are fundamentally the same, ideologies whose success leads to a sea of atomized, characterless and selfish individuals. But we are also the only true individualists, because the paradox of conformity is that it leads to way more uniqueness than non-conformity. Individualism leads to weak, selfish people that all end up being the same. All destruction heads to the same nothingness, where all creation branches out from conform structures. Only when a structure guides the community, lays its rules and ways, can uniqueness and beauty bloom. Only when a unified, solid stem holds a flower upwards can it bloom. Without unity, everything falls down. Calling this unity and selfishness by appealing names doesn't change their natures. Like ama rafesut ЦΑРАД ИРЫСТОN. Like ama rafesut ЦАRАД ИРЫСТОN. Like ama rafesut ЦАRАД ИРЫСТОN.